This is your Anxiety Toolkit, episode number 288. Welcome to Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm your host, Kimberly Quinlan. This podcast is fueled by three main goals. The first goal is to provide you with some extra tools to help you manage your anxiety. Second goal, to inspire you. Anxiety doesn't get to decide how you live your life. And number three, and I leave the best for last, is to provide you with one big, fat virtual hug. Because experiencing anxiety ain't easy. If that sounds good to you, let's go. Well, welcome back, everybody. We literally just finished the 6-week series on managing mental compulsions. My heart is full as full can be. I am sitting here looking into my microphone and I just have a big fat smile on my face. I'm just so excited for what we did together and I felt like it was so huge. I have so many ideas of how I want to do something similar in the future with different areas, and I will. Thank you so much for your feedback and your reviews. I hope it was as helpful as it was for me, even as a clinician. I found it to be incredibly helpful, even, as a supervisor, supervising my staff. I have 9 incredible staff who are therapists who help treat my clients. And we constantly kept referring back during supervision of like, do you remember what Lisa said? Do you remember what Reid said? Listen, let's consider what Jon said, or Jon Hershfield said, or Shala Nicely said. It was just so beautiful. And I'm so grateful. If you haven't listened, go back and listen to it. It's a 6-week series and it was just so wonderful. I keep saying it was just so wonderful. So if you go back, I did an introduction, episode 282. And then from there, it was these amazing, amazing experts who, just dropped amazing truth bomb after amazing truth bomb. So that's that. Today, I am going back to the roots of this podcast and I'm sharing with you, for those of you who have been listening for a while, we usually start the episode with a segment called the I Did a Hard Thing segment. This is where people write in and tell me a hard thing that they've done. If you go to my website, which is kimberlyquinlan-lmft.com, there on the podcast page is a place to submit your I Did a Hard Thing. And today's I Did a Hard Thing is from yours truly. I just had to share this story with you. I feel like it's an important story to tell you guys. And I wanted to share with you that I'm not just talking the talk over here. I'm walking the walk. So today's episode is called When You Get Bad News. I'm just going to leave it at that. Before we get started, I would love to leave you and share with you the review of the week. This is from Hannah Banana 3131, and they said, fantastic mental health podcast. Such an amazing podcast. I've learned so many useful tools for dealing with my anxiety and OCD, and Kimberly is such a loving, compassionate coach. I feel like she's rooting for me every step of my healing journey, and she's left a heart emoji. So thank you so much, Hannah Banana. I love, love, love getting your reviews. It does help me so much. So if you have a moment of time and the podcasts are helpful for you, that is the most helpful thing you can do back, is when we get reviews, then when people who are new come over and see it, it actually makes them feel like they can trust the information we're giving. And in today's world, trust is important, right? There is so much noise and so many people talking about OCD and anxiety, and it's easy to get caught up in sort of nonsense stuff. And so I really want to build a trust factor with the listeners that I have. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, it's funny that Hannah Banana says, I feel like she's rooting for me, because the I Did a Hard Thing is me talking about my recent experience of having a root canal. Worse than a root canal. So let me tell you a story. Now, I'm not just telling you this story to tell you a story. I'm telling you this story because I want to sort of sometimes, when we do the I Did a Hard Thing segment, it's usually very, very short and to the point. But I'd actually like to walk you through how I got through getting some really bad news. So let's talk about it. And I'll share, I'm not perfect. So there were times when I was doing well and there was times when I weren't. So for those of you who don't know, which I'm guessing is all of you, I have very bad gums. My gums, I was inherited bad gums. It comes in my family. I go in every 3 months for a gum routine where they do a deep cleaning or they really check my gums to make sure there's not receding too much. And because of that, I take really good care of my teeth. And because of that, I usually have very little dental issues. I never had a cavity. I've never had any cracks or any terrible swollen problems. That just isn't my problem. My problem is gums, and it's an ongoing issue that I have to keep handling. So this time I go in, I get my x-rays, and the doctor comes in, and I have this really hilarious dentist who has not got the best bedside manner, but I do love him, and he has been with me through some really tough times that when I found out I have a lesion on my brain, I fully broke down in front of him, and he was so kind and gave me his cell phone number. He was just so lovely. But he comes in, and he, rubs his hands together and says, "What are we doing here today, Kimberly?" And he looks at the x-rays, and I kid you not, he says, "Holy crap." Literally, that was his response, which is pretty funny, I think. From there, I proceed to go into some version of a panic attack. I'm like, what? What's wrong? What did you see? What happened, right? And I think that was pretty appropriate for me to do that. So I want to sort of validate you. When you get big news, it's normal to go into a fight or flight, like what's going on, you're hypervigilant, you're looking around. Now, he waited about 45 seconds to answer my question. I just sat there in a state of panic while he stared at these x-rays on the wall. And this 45 seconds, I think, was the longest 45 seconds of my life because he wouldn't answer me. And I was just like, "Tell me what's wrong? What's wrong?" So he turns around and he says, "Kimberly, you have a dead tooth." And I'm like, "What? A dead tooth? What does that even mean?" And he says, "You have a tooth infection that is dormant." He's like, "Do you have any pain? Do you have a headache? What's going on?" And I'm like, nothing, I'm fine. Everything's fine. And so he proceeds to immediately, in this sort of urgent, panicky way, call in his nurses, "Bring me this, bring me that, bring me this, bring me that, bring me this tool, bring me this chemical or medicine or whatever." And they're all poking at me and prodding at me, and they're trying to figure it out. And he's like, "I cannot figure out what this is and why it's here." So bad news, right? Just straight up bad news. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's hard to be in communication with someone, particularly when they're your doctor and they appear to be confused and panicking. Not that he was panicking, but he was acting in this urgent way. That's a hard position to be in. And if you've ever been in a position like that, I want to first validate you. That's scary. It is a scary moment when your trusted person is also panicking. Just like when you're on an airplane, right? And it's really bumpy. But if you see that the air hostesses are giggling and laughing, you're like, okay, it's all good. But when you see their faces are looking a little nervous, that's a scary moment, right? So first of all, if you've been in that position, that's really, really hard. What he then proceeded to tell me is, "Kimberly, this tooth has to come out. It has to come out immediately. We cannot wait. It's going to cost a god awful amount of money. And this has to happen right away." Now, in my mind, you guys know me. I am really, really strict about scheduling. I have a schedule. I'm not compulsive about it, but I run 2 businesses. I have a podcast. I have 2 children. I have a medical illness. I have to manage my mental illnesses all the time. So I have to be really intentional with my calendar. So this idea that immediately everything has to change was a little alarming to me. But what I remember thinking, and this is one of the tools I want to offer you for today, is being emotionally flexible is a skill. And what we want to do in those moments, and this is what I practiced, was, okay, Kimberly, this is one of those moments where your skills come in handy. Thank God for them. Is how can you be flexible here? Because my mind wanted to go, you can't. You got to pick up the kids and you've got to do this and you've got a meeting tomorrow and you've got clients and you can't do this. This can't happen this week. But my mind was like, I'm going to practice flexibility. In addition to that, when things change really quickly, we tend to beat ourselves up, like such and such is going to hate me. They're going to be mad at me. They're going to think I'm a loser for having to change the schedule. And I just gently said to myself, Kimberly, we're going to be emotionally flexible here, and we're going to let everybody have their emotions about it. So the kids get to have their emotions about everything changing, and my clients get to have their emotions about it too. And having to cancel the meetings, they get to have their emotions. Everyone's allowed to have their emotions about the fact that many, many things are going to be canceled in the next few days. And that has been such a work of art for me, but it has been so beautiful for me to say, instead of me going, no, I can't do this because I don't want them to have feelings and I don't want them to think this about me. Now I'm just like, everyone gets to have their feelings. They get to feel disappointed. They get to feel angry. They get to feel annoyed. They get to feel irritated. They get to feel sad. Everybody gets to feel their feelings about it because that's a part of being a human. That's one of the tools I want you to think about. Just play with these ideas, right? You've just come off the 6-week series. These are some more ideas to play with. But then from there, I had about 36 hours where I had to wait for this surgery. And during that time, I had to have an x-ray where I was told, and this is the real bad news, is this infection actually, this is gross, so trigger warning, guys, is the infection actually ate through a part of my jawbone. I know. Isn't that crazy? Like the infection was so bad, and it was right at this area where I guess nerves come out of your jaw. There's this like tiny hole right at the front or around the sort of sides where the nerves come out of your jaw and up into your lips. And the infection kind of spread and was like all over that area. So I know that is gross, but it's also really scary. So not only did I have to think about, all of the changes, but the doctor, the dentist, had made me very aware that this surgery has to go really well. And that if he pushes too hard or he pulls too hard with a tooth, or he had to put in a, there's these words I don't even know, but like a canal, like some kind of fixture so that he can create a new tooth, because I had to have a tooth completely pulled out. He was like, if I push it in too far, I actually may hit this nerve, which could be very, very bad. So this uncertainty felt horrible to me. And of course, I'm going to have these intrusive thoughts like, what if I never get to speak again? And what if I lose the feeling in my gums? And what if he pushes hard and this is terminal? And what if? And so my skill here, and we've learned this from managing mental compulsions, is bring it back to the present. Until there's a problem, we don't solve them, right? So that's what I kept doing. It's not happening now, Kimberly. It's not happening now. It's not happening now. Even though it's a real threat, even though it's going to be something I have to face. Because sometimes our fears are like, what if something happens? But it's just a what if. There's no actual event that you know for certain is going to happen. This was like you're going to do this in literally like 30 hours. and all of these risks are here. You guys have probably got stories like this where you've gone in for some kind of brain surgery or any surgery where there's a risk, but this risk was pretty huge, right? Like he was very concerned. I think appropriately concerned. So here I am for 30 hours, like managing this stuff where I'm like, okay, this could go really well or this could go really bad, like really, really bad. Like I giggle just because it makes me nervous just to think about it. That's a nervous giggle that you just heard me do. I don't know. I often giggle when I'm nervous, but it's a big deal. So I, in these moments, had to sort of weigh up, go back to what Lisa Coyne was talking about. I was like, okay, values versus fear. Which one do I consult with? I had reached out to the dentist to say, you know what, let's just not do this. I'm not in any pain. Let's just keep it there. Let's just not, right? And his response was like, that's not even an option. If you've already got this much damage, like this could get worse and be very, very problematic. So I didn't even have the option to back out. I had to do this. And so as I sort of proceeded forward, I had to keep being aware, like what Jon Hershfield talked about and Dr. Grayson and Dr. Reid Wilson, like, and Shala is like, I had to really allow all the intrusive thoughts to come. Like, yep, possible. Yep, that's possible too. Yep, that's possible too. Maybe it does. Maybe it will. Not going to give it my attention right now. I see you're back again. Good one, bro. Hi there. I see you. I fully accept the uncertainty. You know, that was me for like 30 hours, like literally bringing in every tool I have. The cool thing is it was a hugely busy week. And because I've been really doubling down on my mindfulness skills over the last few months, that actually really helped. Is every time I noticed that I was getting anxious, I was like, okay, what does the keyboard feel under my fingers? Okay, what is it? You know, I have these fiddles that I play with, and I'm like, okay, what does this feel like? This rubber feel like, or this metal feel like, and so forth. So that was really helpful. The day of the surgery, I go in and I'm fully anxious. You know, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm needing to pee. I feel dizzy. I'm not allowed to be on my medication. Oh, and that's the other thing is this is maybe the what do you call it? The silver lining is just a little update for you guys is there is a small chance that because this infection has been here for a long time and we haven't actually detected it yet, that it may be the reason for all my POTS symptoms. As some of you may know, I have postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. It is a chronic illness related to a dysautonomia. It causes me to faint and have headaches and nausea and dizziness and blood pooling, and it's the worst. And there is a chance that that might be why. So I'm sort of like half scared and half excited all day, which, you know, is a lot to handle, right? But as the day is moving forward, I'm getting more and more nervous, and I start to feel the urge to start to seek reassurance. I start to observe the urge to Google. I start to observe the urge to ask the doctors many, 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 many questions. And when I say it, I'm saying that very intentionally. I observed the urge, which is I didn't do those behaviors. I just noticed the urge that kept showing up. Ooh, let's try and get this anxiety to go away. Ooh, let's try and get that anxiety to go away. Knowing that when it's my turn to sit in that chair, I will ask specific questions. So I'm not saying you can't ask your doctors questions, but that was key for me was to observe the urge to seek reassurance. Observe the urge to go into avoidance. I'm not going to make this story too much longer, but what I will say, I want to tell you the funniest part of this story is I'm in the doctor's office. because I had to go in for this very fancy x-ray that does all your nerves because he was afraid he was going to hit one, he's showing me the x-ray and I'm literally looking at it and he's showing me cross sections of my jaw. And you guys, it was so scary. Like you can see the hole that it's created. You can see the infection and how it's like deteriorated the bone. And it was so scary. It was so scary. And so he puts his hand on my, and I'm like at that point, like, is there any way we could get away with not doing this? Because this is really scary. He puts his hand on my hand and he says, I'm going to go and take care of all of these last patients I have so I can give you 100% of my attention and I will be back. You guys, this is the funniest thing ever. So the dental nurse is there watching me. My heart rate is like through the roof. My blood pressure is all over the place. And she stands in front of me and she says, Miss Kimberly, don't be worried. We've watched all the YouTube videos. And I swear to you, every piece of panic that I had went out the window for that small second, and I laughed so hard. She said, in fact, that's where Doctor is right now. He's just going to watch the YouTube video one more time. And I just died laughing. Now, for some of you, that may have actually been really anxiety provoking, but for me, it was exactly what I needed. I needed someone to make this so funny. And it was so funny. I swear to you, every time I think of it, the way she says it in her accent was the most hilarious thing ever. It was so perfectly timed. The delivery was perfect. And I burst out laughing. So he comes back in. This is the end of the story. I'm not going to drag it out for too much longer, I promise. But he comes back in. And I just wanted to share with you, because I know last week with Lisa, I had a really emotional moment. And I think it was really tied to this, is as he was putting in the IV, because I had to be knocked out, he said he couldn't take a risk of me moving. So he knocked me out for the surgery, is tears just rolled out of my eyes. And I wasn't going to be ashamed of it. And what came up for me was I said, please, sir. I said sir, which I think is so funny because I know him by his first name. Please, sir, please just take care of me. And for me, tears were rolling down my face, but that was an act of compassion for myself. Instead of me saying, because I know 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, I probably would have said, please, don't kill me, or promise me nothing bad would happen. But there was this act of compassion that just flowed out of me, which was like, please, sir, please take care of me. And it was coming from this deep place of finally in my life being able to ask to be taken care of. And I've been working on this, you guys, for, about a year, is having the ability to actually ask for help has been something I've really sucked at. And it's something I've worked so hard at. And for me, that was groundbreaking, to ask for help, right? Now, you could say it was me pleading with him, but it wasn't. It was me. It was an act of compassion. It was an act of saying, I'm scared. I'm not asking you to take my fear away. I'm just asking you to hold me in a place of kindness and compassion and nurturing and care. And that for me was profound. So I just wanted to share that with you. I know that it mightn't be as skills-based as some of the other episodes, but I love sharing with you hard things, and I love sharing with you that I'm a human, messy human who's doing the best they can and is imperfect too. But I just wanted to give you a step-by-step on it's okay if it's hard, and there are skills that you can use, and we can get through hard things. It's a beautiful day to do hard things. I always say that. And so I wanted to just record this and share with you the ups and the downs of my week and sort of help you maybe if there's a time where you've gotten bad news on ways that you might manage it. Now, what I do want to end here with is I understand my privilege here. I understand my privilege of getting bad news and being able to get medical care and have a lovely dentist and a lovely nurse who makes funny jokes. And sometimes the news doesn't end well. And I get that. I want to honor you that there is no right way to get bad news. And the grief process of getting bad news is different for everybody. This was more of like an anxiety process, but I want to honor to you that if you're going through something in your life where you've gotten bad news, I want to also offer you the opportunity to grieve that. And I want to honor that this is really, really a hard thing to go through. So I really want to make sure I make space for you with that, because my experience is not your experience, I'm sure. So that's it, guys. That's what to do when you get bad news, right? That's my experience of getting bad news. And I hope it's been helpful, right? We are embarking on some shifts here with the podcast. I am so inspired to be more focused on just delivering the tools to you and being a safe place for you and being a bright, shiny light for you. And so I'm doing a lot of exploring on how I can do that. So again, if you want to give some thoughts, please do reach out, send me an email. If you're not on my newsletter list, please do go and sign up. I'll leave you a link in the show notes, or you can go to cbtschool.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you can reply there as well, or you can leave a review. All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. It is a beautiful day to get bad news and do the hard thing. Okay? I love you. Have a great day. Please note that this podcast or any other resources from cbtschool.com should not replace professional mental health care. If you feel you would benefit, please reach out to a provider in your area. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for supporting cbtschool.com.